Hey there, business owner. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Evolution Podcast. This is our weekly episode, and I'm so happy you are here. Let's get started. Hi there, entrepreneur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Entrepreneur Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Annette Walter. I'm so happy you're here. This is the place for you to feel surrounded by other entrepreneurs like yourself who are sharing their story, sharing their wisdom, sharing and honestly capturing what is happening in their business right now, the true feelings, the true advice, the true nuggets of information that are really helping you propel in your business. Today, I am joined by Andrew Buerger. He is an award-winning entrepreneur for both profit and nonprofit organizations. You may have heard of some of his past companies, the Jewish Times and Bmore Organic, if you are a local Baltimore resident here. He is the founder of Jodi's Climb for Hope, which has raised over $850,000 for multiple sclerosis and breast cancer research by getting more than 250 climbers safely to the summits on 4 different continents. Wow. He's also the director of Rare Earth Adventures, an expedition guiding company based out of Portland, Oregon. He lives in Baltimore with his loving wife and 2 children, and they recently got a family dog named Denali. He is kind. He is giving. He is so real in his interview today, and I know you are going to learn so much from him. I'm happy you're here, and I definitely want to see you and talk to you more. Make sure you hit subscribe so you're automatically alerted to our episodes that drop on Tuesday and on Friday. I drop an interview with an entrepreneur every Tuesday and a 5-minute entrepreneurial express tip every Friday that gives a business tip in 5 minutes or less. And if you hit subscribe, you're automatically, it'll just show up magically, I promise. Let's talk. Let's talk about you. I want to know what's going on with you. I want to hear from you. Please tell me. Let's carve out some time to talk about you and your business. Email me at yourock@ievolveconsulting.com, or you can click on the calendar link below. Carve out some time to just vent and really have some time to process what's going on with you and your business. I'd love to hear from you. Enjoy this episode with Andy. Andrew Buerger, welcome, welcome.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Great to be with you.
Is it morning? Having coffee together, right?
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. I am really happy you are here. Your story is incredible.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your book. I have a copy of it right here. It's incredible. And I know everyone here is going to really enjoy your story. Andrew Buerger is joining us today. He is the author of Carrying a Flag from Pain to Passion, and a social entrepreneur, founder of Bmore Organic, and really a solid history. And you and I go way back.
We do go way back. Yes.
Way back. We've known each other through different chapters of our life, which...
Yeah, you helped me move back from Vancouver over 20 years ago. Give me my first mortgage. It was great.
That's right. We really go back. And then all those back-to-back ads in the Jewish Times, and
I still remember those.
It's great. So I'm just going to let you begin. I want to share in your own words. Give us a backdrop and tell your story, catch us up to speed, and then we'll dig into what the now looks like and how we can really help the audience with some current tips, tactics, trades, advice, whatever you have.
Okay. Want the brief history of time?
Yeah.
I was born. Thanks for the introduction. We were just talking, how we've known each other over 20 years, and you were doing your ads for, mortgages, and you've had a journey. You started out mortgages, then you transformed into a CEO of the timber business, a women-owned business, which is fantastic. Now you're coaching and having podcasts. We all just seem to evolve in life, and you're keeping, especially in the 21st century, things change so quickly, right? Things get disrupted. What are you going to do? I tell the story in my book where I'm climbing down a mountain and I'm exhausted. I spent way too much gas going to the summit, which is a huge mistake. You always have to leave enough to come back down. Going to the top is optional. Coming back down is mandatory. And you can't leave it all on the summit. And that's why 80% of the accidents, mountain climbing, come on the way down. And so I'm coming down, and I hadn't trained right. I was getting older, a lot of excuses, but I wasn't ready for this expedition. And then I was out of gas, but I'm like, and I still had hours to go before camp. And I'm like, I'm done.
Wow.
I'm spent. I'm out of gas. I'm tired. I'm hungry. We were a little on the lost side, and my buddies were going, "Come on, you got to keep going. You got to keep going." They're kind of lying to me. Oh, camp's just around the corner, and I'm like, all right. And I write my son's name on one water bottle and my daughter's name on the other water bottle, and every time I take a sip, right, I know why I'm climbing, which is not to get to the summit.
I really did. I just got chills. That's so cool.
It reminds me why I'm climbing. This is not to get to the summit, but to get back down to see them safely. Yeah. So I'm not going to lie down and die, right? I'm in a bad situation, but you don't have a choice. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other until you're back at camp. And, you've been thrown challenges. We've all been thrown so many challenges. And, if the mortgage business change or whatever business change, okay, I'm done. No, you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And eventually you'll be back at camp.
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about as we rewind a little bit, you being, you had lost your father, lost your mother very young, lost your father.
Yeah.
And taking over the business, taking over coming back, from
Vancouver, right.
Out of Baltimore and out of, your roots, and then coming back and taking over his business. I was thinking about a couple things actually. Is what did business feel like then versus now? And what did that feel like, that mantle of responsibility of really kind of filling your dad's shoes?
Here we are in Baltimore, and, everybody remembers Doug DeCinces in Baltimore. Nobody wants to follow a legend. Doug DeCinces was a fine third baseman, but he wasn't Butch Robinson. And so, my dad died when I was 31 years old. And it was a pretty good sized business with over 50 employees. And my dad was a legend. He was an absolute legend. He was loved and, one of the greatest third basemen of all time. Right. And so following that, I don't care who you are, it's a really tough act to follow. And it took me a long, long time to feel comfortable in those shoes. Right. It's like, how do I forget? I can't beat Chuck Buerger. And I was myself. And so I finally, through, you're part of a great organization, a leadership organization. I joined a great leadership organization, which really helped me in that journey. The coaching, the peer mentorship was really helpful, but it was really, really hard. At the same time, my dad died and all that stuff was happening. We had this thing was called the internet was developed, right? And so, back then, if you wanted the mortgage, you looked through the newspaper and you looked in the yellow pages. Let me see. Right. Now you Google it, right? So that's where you get your mortgage. So who's buying print advertising anymore? And so I'm running this business that's dying. And it was super, super hard. Super hard running this organization. It was always winning. My dad made everybody feel like they were winning. And now we're losing. The internet's happening, the financial crisis. People were reading less. People aren't less involved with Jewish activities. So how do you run a Jewish newspaper through all this?
Right.
So, we had a lot of headwinds at the same time, so it took me a long time to find that. But then I had a great experience. I got to travel to Israel during the war and go, not the front lines, but I was up to see there. I met with, Pentagon leaders. I met with world leaders. It was a phenomenal experience that I'll never, ever forget. And it's part of the building blocks that made me who I am today.
Absolutely. And that's a different kind of pressure for sure.
Yes.
And not only just, you personally grieving and going through things and trying to fill big shoes, but the economic distress that was surrounding you.
Yes.
And being a leader in a changing world and having to make those hard decisions. It's not easy. So did you go through, I hope I'm not getting too personal here, but like, did you go through the professional, almost like the professional repair, like you had to like pick yourself up off the ground? Were you really down at all?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
There was some really dark, lonely times. As you know, as a CEO, it's really, really lonely.
Mhm.
Imagine being 33 years old, running this big organization, going, oh God, deer in the headlights, and who do you turn to? And it was really hard. And fortunately, I had that leadership group there.
Mhm.
It's an interesting story. So I was part of this leadership group, and they said, let's try this new thing where it's called a SWOT, and we're all kind of come in and get a survey and figure out, how are things going in the organization. And we're all, oh my God, that sounds perfect. I'll volunteer to be the first one.
Right.
So they do the survey and like, okay, because we had been hearing rumblings within the organization, just, the old management by walking around and hearing, things, the culture was not great. So I said, guys, I hear the culture isn't great. Do you mind coming in and talking to my people and figure out what is wrong with it? So they all came in, 3 of them interviewed anybody they want through any document they wanted, full access. They come back, sit me down. Yep, we found the problem. I'm like, oh, thank God. What is it? What is it? Tell me. Well, Andy, the problem is you.
Hmm.
I'm like, what? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm all good. No,
Mhm.
no, you're the problem. And they spelled out very nicely, boom, boom, boom. Here are the 3 major problems that you're having. And it was awful, awful hearing that you're failing. Nobody wants to know they're failing. But at the same time, it was the best leadership lesson, best leadership book, the best
Mhm.
experience of my leadership life is to find out, honestly, have your friends sit you down and say, here's what's going wrong. We
Mhm.
all love you. The
Right.
organization loves you, and we want you to succeed.
Right.
So that was a tough time, but I came out the other end. That's kind of the premises of my book, to going from pain to passion.
Yes.
Every time that I seem to get blocked, every time I seem to have something awful happen in my life, I come out the other side better. Not to be Forrest Gump, but it it's a combination of just determination and looking for that door of when you're all the lights are out and you feel like you've hit a wall. It's just finding that door. And when my dad died, I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. This is terrible. But then I became the leader of this organization that was a really powerful, important part of Baltimore. My
Mhm.
sister died of breast cancer. It was excruciating to lose my best friend in the
Mhm.
entire world and to watch her suffer, to watch her family suffer. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I started a nonprofit organization to raise money for breast cancer research at Hopkins. And, um, uh, I was that. That's my passion in life. I found my mission in life. And Mark Twain once said the 2 most important days in a man's life, a person's life, the day they're born, and the day they figure out why.
That is the opening quote of the book. I mean, of
Yeah.
course you know that.
You got to the first page, which is
Yes,
awesome.
I loved that. And, you and your sister were only 13 months apart, which
Right.
is just, like you said, your best friend, so close. And I really liked where you said, as you were, I- the way that you write this book, first of all, it just pulls you in. It pulls you in because you feel like you were really having a sit down with you. Like, really, you're just telling me the story. It reads so great. And when you said, I like to think of myself as an optimist, but I knew when things weren't good with my dad. And that's when you just know. And that's the challenging part, going back to the leadership role, is we are very optimistic, but we
Yes.
know, we know when things aren't right. You knew when you were walking around that something wasn't right with the culture. And kudos to you to craving and gaining that constructive criticism
Thanks.
and that constructive feedback, because that's what makes us better. That's what
It
makes us
does.
stronger.
It
And
does.
that's what helps us grow. So you close the chapter of the Jewish Times, you make
Yes.
the decisions there. Do you ever,
Yes.
at that point, are you like, I know that I'll make something else happen? Or you're like, I'm done, I'm spent. I like, what were you like when, back to the professional confidence repair there?
So, along that journey, I we had these fabulous speakers come to us, speak to us it was then called Tech, but became Vistage. And these fabulous speakers, and this is the late 90s because I'm a little older than the average person. So this guy taught us how to eat right. In 1998, you could eat as many Snackwell cookies as you wanted, and you know, pasta and non-fat muffins, right? I'm like, oh, it's got no fat. I can eat as many as I want. I was like eating my fat, and I gained all this weight. My cholesterol was through the roof. My dad had died of heart disease, and this guy came in and taught us how to eat right, which is so commonplace in 2021. And lean protein, complex carbohydrates.
Right. I think I remember him. Was his name like Joe or something?
Oh my God, how do you remember that?
I think I was in that group with you, and he was great.
He's the best. Joe Dillon. I mean, he would change.
Yes, Joe Dillon. Yes.
How do you remember that?
Weren't we over near Mill Number 1, that area?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so he taught me how to eat right. And so it changed my life because I realized, oh my God, you can prevent disease. My dad died, my mom died. I had all this disease around me, but 87% of disease is preventable. And so I was on this journey to help people get well, right? And so how do we create wellness? So I was always looking for a grab and grow protein that didn't have toxic chemicals or bad fat or tons of sugar. And remember, yogurt was like Yoplait, right? Which, oh my God, it's French, it's a candy bar. And so there's like zero health benefit. So again, when every time something bad happens, it leads me to another discovery. And so we were climbing in Iceland, the New York Times is falling apart because of a lawsuit with the printer and, the economic headwinds, all these things.
What year is this? Give me a year. Let's date.
So this is the summer of 2009.
Okay.
Summer 2009.
Good times.
The financial crisis, the internet's devastating the media properties. All this stuff is going on. And so we have the lawsuit on top of this because these guys, think they can hold on to this contract forever. So I'm like, I've got to find my next act. And so my wife and I, and Jennifer, by this time has multiple sclerosis and can't climb, but we're on a fundraising expedition in Iceland. And we discovered this product called Skier, which is very similar to Greek yogurt. And I tried it and I'm like, oh my God, this is delicious. And I'm like, 22 grams of protein, no bad fat, no sugar. I looked at my wife, I said, this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
Awesome.
And so, what I lack in intelligence and IQ, I make up for in resourcefulness. So I went to undergrad at University of Vermont and I'm like, I can't make, I can barely boil hot water. I can't make yogurt. And so I called the school up and like, we have a pretty good dairy program up here at Vermont, right? Like, yeah, we do. I said, can you introduce me to a dairy scientist? And so I met this guy and he helped me formulate it and off we went.
That's amazing.
So as the JT's falling and I'm thinking, I got a wife with multiple sclerosis. We just adopted 2 kids from Ethiopia. But again, you cannot lay down and die. You just got to keep moving those feet forward. So I'm like, all right. So I came back and started doing it on nights and weekends. I'd go up to the plant on a weekend and then make deliveries at night and wrap the bottles and make sales calls on, on vacation days.
Wow.
Stay up and running. And then, we got into Wegmans and we got into Whole Foods. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to burn the boats and just quit the day job and go for it.
That's amazing. Okay. So first of all, I love how travel gives you so much perspective. And I always stress this to every single busy person, entrepreneur out there, everybody on my team, my husband, Sean. I'm like, if we don't travel, we don't see anything. We don't gain perspective. We don't pause. We don't have those aha moments. And that's where you had it. That's where you had it.
We do. And I'm going to keep quoting all these distance because we had another woman that was so bizarre. She was a handwriting analyst and she'd analyze your handwriting and tell you what kind of thinker, what kind of person you are. And I'm like, bro, this is nuts. This is the most insane thing we've ever heard. But, like anything, I tried it. And she came back to me. I'm like, someone's recording me. She knows me better than all these people know. And she's like, Andy, you have to surround yourself with really good people that you trust. But you're not a visionary. You're not a visionary. So what you need to do is go out into the world, look around, read, analyze, study, and bring those ideas back to your organization. So I was always trying to borrow and steal ideas. I didn't invent yogurt, but I took a yogurt and just put a spin on it because I went to Iceland where drinkable skier was very common, but no one was drinking drinkable Greek yogurt in the United States. We were, 5 years ahead of Chobani in the drinkable Greek yogurt space.
Right. It reminds me of Reagan, the founder of Aiden and blankets. She didn't reinvent baby blankets. She basically brought this beautiful cloth that she used from her, from Australia, from her home place. And there you have it. It's all
People are like, such a visionary. I'm like, no, I didn't invent yogurt and invent drinkable yogurt. I didn't invent stevia, but I was the first person to combine the drinkable yogurt with the stevia. So we were, we were able to get into Whole Foods, Kroger, Publix. We were in, stores from 40 states across, all the way to Alaska, because we were just the first people to take what was already out there. Something that, again, we learned on my travels, being exposed to the world and bringing that to the United States.
I want to expound, though, on that beautifully put, simple statement that you just mentioned twice. Is we got into Wegmans, we got into Kroger's, we got into here. Okay. How does that happen? Walk us through that, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs out there in the food and beverage space that are listening to this, up and coming or already on shelf space, looking to get into other stores right now. Let's date stamp it again, because obviously, times have changed, but I want to hear, because why I want to hear what happened then is because we're going back to a lot of basics, right? We're going back to a lot of basics. So share that story about that first win in a major store. How did it happen?
Is this a 3-hour podcast? How long?
I know. I'll keep us on track. I promise. I promise.
We're going to chunk this down. It's going to be a 3-episode episode.
Yeah, right.
So, we were doing nights and weekends, and I'm, my neighbor owned Charm City Yoga. So she said, oh, we'll put it in there. And my friend Josh Levinson owned Charm City Runs. She said, oh yeah, we'll put it in our refrigerator. My friend owned Earth Treks, and he put it in his gym. Okay. So like, oh my God, this is success. I'm in like 4 locations. Yay.
Yes.
And so then, we got enough nerve to start going, okay, we got a rhythm here. Let's try going to like a real store. So we went to like David's Naturals in Columbia. A friend of mine took me to Roots Market in Clarksville. And then we went to Mom's Organic Market, which is, at the time had about 10 stores. I'm like, look, we're local, we're organic. Will you take us in? And, we had at Roots Market, we had no appointment. Mm-hmm. We had no business cards. We just walked in, and the guy's like, you're organic, you're local, and you give money to local charity. Yeah. Okay, we'll take it. I'm like, do you want to try some? No. I'm like, and we'll pay you COD. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. So the lesson there was all the local stores really, really want local products. Mm-hmm. They just want, how do you differentiate yourself in these mass grocery stores? Because they carry local products of local flavor, mm-hmm. as opposed to, just a run-of-the-mill shop. So we are so supported by the local mm-hmm. merchants, Eddie's, Growls, mm-hmm. all the local guys really were so, so supportive. And it's just a matter of asking, right? Right. There's a chapter in my book called Getting Comfortable Being Uncomfortable. And so it's uncomfortable to walk in there and go, oh my God, I have this stupid idea I whipped up in my kitchen. Let's try it. And so I just said, all right, let's do it. And we walked in, got up enough nerve and did that. And so we were able to get into all the local stores that we could, all those really, and Mom's, those are all great accounts because they're all wonderful stores.
Yes.
And then my friend, Michelle Thornett, her name is Michelle Chikalis now. She owns Michelle's Granola. And so she gave us this fabulous, fabulous piece of advice, which is not quite as relevant in 2021, but she said, go to the Natural Products Expo, which is based here in Baltimore for so many years. So all your food and beverage entrepreneurs are very familiar. And we got lucky because it was based here in Baltimore. And so we were in bankruptcy court in Baltimore, and this Natural Products Expo is going on at the convention center. I literally walked out of the federal courthouse. I mean, people say literally, I'm talking about literally. I walked across the street to the convention center. I'm like, and Jen's manning the booth, and she has no idea what she's doing. And I said, how'd it go today, sweetheart? Well, somebody from United Foods or somebody came by and wants to pick us up. I'm like, UNFI? Oh, right, that's them. I'm like, you mean the largest uh, distributor of organic food in the country? Yeah. Oh, right. That they came by with a guy from Wegmans and he wants to put us in the Wegmans.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, oh, cool. We'll be in the Hunt Valley store. The purchase order comes through for 50 stores because we did this Natural Products Expo show. Mm-hmm. So that's how we did that. And then, Whole Foods, we just did the same thing. Hey, went down to the Mount Washington store. I lived in Royal Park. I'm like, look, we're a mile and a half from here. We're local. He said, organic, no artificial ingredients. Oh, okay, you're in.
Wow.
So, and then we had to go to, different stores. Once you're in one store, you have to then pitch all the others.
The power of asking, the power of showing up, and courage over comfort.
Yeah. And then the last lesson was, this guy, David Schleider from True Citrus, him, super nice guy. His family owned Schleider's Caterers for a lot of the years. And so he calls me up and said, let's have coffee. I'm like, oh, I don't want to be sold something. I don't want to be sold anything. Because, we get sales pitches all the time as CEOs. And he's like, what's up, dude? He's like, just want to help you. I'm like, help me what? He's like, no, I've been in the business a while. I just want to help you. Can I help introduce you to people? I'm like, what's the catch? He said, no, I want to help you. So he introduced me to this broker who then gets us into Kroger, Publix, Harris Teeter, Lowe's Foods, and so 2,000 stores, just because this guy called me up and wanted to take me out for coffee.
It's amazing. And you said yes when you didn't really want to.
Correct. It's one of the lessons. I always get a nugget. If someone's trying to sell you something, get a nugget from them, right? If you're going to spend 30 minutes, 15, 30 minutes of your time, get something out of it. Absolutely. Get a referral, get something. So I was determined to learn something from David, and kept it open up for mine to let him help me. And it's never, if everybody wants to help somebody. Nobody wants to be helped.
Right.
And as CEOs, we don't want to get help, right? We're powerful. We're leaders. We're tough. But it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely.
And this guy helped me.
To ask for what you want and to ask. And it does. It takes getting out of your comfort zone, as Brett is that. So back to the book. What is your favorite part of the book?
God. Take a screenshot. Favorite part of the book. I'm trying to think. Am I allowed to give two answers?
Of course you are. You can give two answers.
Well,
so many good nuggets in here.
Yeah, I think the central theme is, kind of going back to the getting comfortable, being uncomfortable part of the show is where life is so comfortable now, right? My daughter, she loves going to the dentist. I'm like, what? When I was going to the dentist, a cavity hurt because they give you the shot of Novocaine, and the shot of Novocaine hurts. That now they pre-numb it, right? And then you don't even feel the shot. And my daughter's, she has the laughing gas, she's got this stuff, and she's watching TV, and you get surprised. She doesn't want to brush her teeth because she wants to go to the dentist. Nobody wants to get their arm cut off anymore without, being awake. And so many of these things are great, but at the same time, we're not used to being comfortable, being uncomfortable. My neighbor bought a new car and he's so excited. Well, Mark, why are you so excited? It's got heated steering wheels. I'm like, oh, God forbid, we get in the car and our hands are cold. Our life is so easy. And we're so poignant to COVID. Right? Oh, it's just terrible. You've heard the joke that, our grandparents went overseas and fought to keep us safe. And we can't sit home on our couch and watch Netflix to keep them safe. It's just, this is so hard. It's not. I mean, the people dying is awful and the sickness is awful. And there's so many parts of it, but, we are just not used to suffering. We just not.
And to go to the quote where you have, towards the end here, it's how we respond that's important. It's how we respond that's important. Yeah. So for those entrepreneurs out there, and I get this question a ton, is I want to write a book. How do I write a book? Where do I start? What do I do? Did you self-publish or
I
did
did. I
okay.
did.
Okay.
That's like, I tell the story. One of the, you're asking all the questions, but that was one of the chapters. One of the chapters is fast and light. When you're in the mountains, you just, you, you, you see weather coming in and there's no time to bring your French press and your pillow or there's rock fall. You just go, come on, let's not take it. This is gorgeous, but no time for pictures. We'll take pictures on the way down. Weather coming in, you got to get up and back safely before something happens. And the same thing with the book. I'm like, oh my goodness, this COVID thing is, this book is really mirroring what's going on during COVID. I'm telling all the lessons that to learn while you're sitting on your couch. Here's what you can learn and come out of COVID better than you went into COVID. I wrote a freaking book during COVID, right? I became an author. And so, what are we doing right now while we're stuck here to become a better person, to become a better spouse, to become a better entrepreneur, become a better civic person while we're sitting home during this time? And so, that I think is why the book was so important. My friend Sally Thorner, she's a dear friend of mine, and she's like, get it out, go. I gave it to one person. Sally's like, get the book out. So do I shop it around? And I'm like, no, let's just get the book out and not worry about it.
Good for you. Good for you. That is a huge, huge win, huge success. That's amazing. That's a huge turn time. That's awesome. So catch us up to speed. What does Bmore Organic look like today? And what are you feeling for 2021? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, we're all going. It's gonna be the best year ever until January. We're taping here on the 8th of January, but you kind of asked the question of how to get published, and the second half of the answer is I was introduced to somebody who writes these books, and so with ADHD, it was like for me to sit down and do something. I felt accountable to him. I did all the writing, but I was like, Bill's waiting for it. Bill's depending on this. If I don't get this chapter written, Bill's going to be upset. And then also I'm like, we got to write this, and then we got to write that, and we got to write this. And he's like, no, Annie, stay focused.
Right.
Here are the things, not stay focused. And he just kept me moving, kept me focused, kept pulling me back. So that was really important to have somebody hold me accountable and have me stay focused. So that having Bill was super, super helpful.
Oh, that's great.
Having a partner along the way, so the journey. Okay. So, it wouldn't be my life story if there weren't twists and turns. So in August of 2019, we moved to a new production facility, and they thought, just after we moved and signed a contract to move all our stuff, they thought it was too difficult to do. So they terminated the contract illegally and put us out of business. Wow. So, life, you got to keep moving. And so writing a book, doing a lot of motivational speaking, and I'm also helping smaller startup brands with their kind of sales and marketing in the Mid-Atlantic region. Got
it. So how did that feel different than what you went through before with the Jewish Times?
It's very similar. It's very similar when a third party controls your fate. And so, I make unforced errors every single day. And you got to keep fighting. And, that get comfortable being uncomfortable. It means you just don't give up. I never, ever, ever give up. And that's how I got to where I was, because everybody else was giving up and I just refused to. And so to get to the point where it's like, I don't have a choice. I got no place to make my product. Game over. So it was really hard.
Growth.
Just give up. Say, there it is. There's the end.
It's hard to figure. It's hard, or is it the beginning? It's hard to figure out that when you get to monumental, substantial growth in your business, where you really truly scale and you scale quickly. It's hard to figure out that next best step, especially when it's the first time you've done it, right? And you're trusting and everything feels right, seems right, but then the rug is pulled from under you.
Yes.
And you maybe overlooked or didn't think about one I or one T to dot and cross.
Right.
And it's those one things that just are just, it's tough. It's tough. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. And lawyers are like airbags, right? You hope you never need it, but it's always to have the good lawyer to make sure, let's take 2 minutes to go this, to get this looked over. So that's always important as for an entrepreneur too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I honestly, I did not know where that had landed. I didn't.
What landed?
Where Bmore Organic had landed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're 2017, we're the 5th fastest growing organic and natural brand in the country. To go from there to zero was really hard. It was, I don't think I've fully processed the grief yet. I've had the chance to process the death of my father, and my mother, and my sister, and my wife's disease, but I just haven't had time to process that death like anything else. This was something that I created literally in my kitchen and then grew it to be, that big of a brand, and then to go to zero was hard. And it's been so busy, so crazy with COVID and everything else to actually have a grieving process.
What advice would you give right now to natural food and beverage people that are growing their brand? I mean, I have someone coming up on the podcast actually in a few weeks, and same thing. I remember the phone call that she had with Sodexo and getting, going through the same process that you talked about. What would you say right now? Because you've felt so much, you've been through so much.
It's a tough business, tough
It
business. One of the challenges that we had was, we were at a co-packer that the milk prices were too high, so our margins weren't right. And so you've got to get those margins to, in that industry, to about 50% gross margin. So was critical not to burn cash, because if you're burning cash, it's really hard, A, to get investors, and B, to just keep the doors open. So conserving cash is so critical, because you're always have to invest in something, whether it's social media, content, some kind of promotional thing at the shelf. Promotions in Publix cost $50,000 a year, so that you just got to keep the cash on hand. And not burn through that, and just try to be as creative as you can with your marketing without burning a lot of cash.
That is really good advice. I love your optimism. I love your realness and rawness and your openness. And I love your perseverance. So
Thanks.
Do you have a couple more climbs coming in
the
near future once we're through this COVID beautiful?
We're supposed to, we're supposed to go to Mexico and do a climb down there, but things are just really dicey in terms of, are we going to get in? But we've got a great summer planned. Some, Mount Rainier, Mount Adams, hopefully Pico de Orizaba in Mexico. And now we're doing rim to rim, the rim of the Grand Canyon, which is a really special expedition as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I love how you talked about the accountability partner, getting the book going. And you talked about the leadership groups and how they got you through really difficult times. And that's one of the big things that I really stress with entrepreneurs is if you're not coming to one of our groups or getting the coaching here, make sure you find it somewhere.
Correct.
I don't care where you find it.
Yes.
Find your person, find where the chemistry is, find what you're comfortable with. So, is that something that you want to do or partake in the future? Find another group or?
Oh my God. Oh, I missed it so much. Oh, I missed that groups. Oh, I loved it. Part therapy, it's part, counseling. It was awesome. I really, because when I was at the Jewish Times, it was part of the budget, but it was not part of the budget. And we were just so lean at Bmore Organic. I just missed it. It's like, help. But fortunately, those guys from 20 years ago, I can still call them up. They're my 2 a.m. friends. Hey, Mark Jankowski, dude. Okay, I'll be right there. They're still there for me, but I miss. Yes, the accountability. It's like, Andy, last month you said you were going to do ABC. I'm like, now I'm like, or just, the other thing we say is have somebody to question your answers. always want somebody who loves you and cares about you, and there's no agenda, to question that rather than going, does this person have an agenda? No, there's no agenda. They want me to succeed is their agenda. So I miss that tremendously. So I hope that whatever my next journey is, that's in the budget. Absolutely.
Oh, I know that there's big things ahead for you. I know that about you. I can't wait. The next big chapter is going to be even your best yet. So how can we help you? Can we promote you, support you? How can we find the book? Tell us where to connect with you.
I think I'm at Andrew. Do we have show notes? I love show notes.
Oh, I'll drop everything in the show notes. Absolutely.
I totally feel like Tim Ferriss every time. It's in the show notes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any big asks to the
audience? If I'm allowed, since you got to ask for help, right? You don't get it. If someone's looking for a motivational speaker for their organization, I would love it. I love sharing my story, and I love teaching people through my story. As you can tell, I make people laugh and cry, all in the same presentation. So those are great. I love doing that. The books are on Amazon. We'll put the independent bookseller that I have that supports independent small business women in the show notes. But if you're looking for a speaker, I love doing speaking. So that would be great.
Oh, that's great. I am grateful for you. I'm grateful for our history.
Yes.
You really warmed my heart today and brought back a lot of good golden memories. And I just love your story. And again, I know that your next chapter, the book, everyone has to read the book. It's really good. It is just, there's really a lot of gold nuggets in there, like you had mentioned. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for coaching other people. It's so important to have these resources that you're putting out to help other entrepreneurs. And kudos to you for helping those behind you.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. I really do. It fills my bucket. It fills my soul.
Good. We all need it.
All right. Until next time, my friend.
Thanks. Good talking to you.
Wow. What an episode. Did you learn something new? I hope so. I am so happy you were able to be here with us today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a review and I will be sure to read it and respond to you. Also, if you'd like to email me, my email address is yourock@iEvolveConsulting.com. Hit subscribe, and every Tuesday you'll get notification when the next episode drops. We really have some amazing interviews and tips in the future. Anything you need, I'm here for you. I want you to keep your momentum. I want to help you stay accountable. I want you to stay inspired. I want you to evolve. So please let me know what you need, and I'd love to hear from you. Take care until next time.